All right, now it's time to talk a little fantasy football week 2. We got our guy D Nasty back, Dave. I'm guessing from a fan perspective, week 1 treated you better than me.
Yes, I loved watching the Bears game this weekend. It was nice seeing Love pass on the ownership of the Bears and owning them as well.
He's 1-0. Come on, man. Just pump the brakes on that. The Packers as a team do, but yeah, they can all trade shares and just up your share prices that you guys have no say in anyway. So that's what they can do, right? Oh man, it was brutal, just absolutely brutal. Thank God I had a good betting week, but I was just pretty disappointed with the Bears, and I probably should have bet the Packers. My inclinations told me, my heart stopped it, but it's a week 1. You kind of hope that maybe it's so much variance you're wrong. I do believe that was just a hard game to bet anyway. I don't really regret it, but it was just interesting. It was third downs. Jordan Love's guys were so wide open on third downs. It's just like anybody can make that throw. And
Plus, he had a lot of time too. The line was giving him a lot of time. The Bears just weren't getting any rush on him either. He had all day to find his second and third receivers too, which was key as well.
That's true too. Yeah, he did. He certainly did, man. But you guys got it done and we didn't. It's not like the Bears were planning on, we weren't making the playoffs, but now the Packers might even have a shot unless we were just that bad. And we'll see a little bit more about when you play this week. Who are you playing this week?
Falcons, actually. So we could actually potentially be 2-0 after this week. So we'll see, though. I don't think the Falcons are that good as well either. So we'll see.
All right, we'll see.
A little bit better defense, I think, and they're just as good on offense, I think. I don't think the offense is that much better. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Right, it will. Yeah, I mean, it's just basically you just got to make them throw the ball and not be leading. And if that's the case, they can't really run the ball, and they're just dinking and dunking the whole time. So the Falcons have a pretty good defense, but if you can just get the lead on them, I'd probably live bet the Packers. I'd live bet any team that has a lead on the Falcons if they're halfway decent, because the Falcons are just not a catch-up team.
It's a strictly running team.
Well, let's talk, man. Fantasy football week 2. We are starting to key injuries, Dave. I've got a few of them myself. You want to go first?
Sure. Main one is going to be J.K. Dobbins. The guy I feel sorry for him, he just can't stay healthy. I traded him away in one of my dynasty leagues, so I'm kind of glad I got rid of him, actually. I actually got Josh Allen back in that deal, so I'm pretty happy about that right now, but I still feel sorry for him. Torn Achilles, out for the year. We'll talk about pickups to replace him a little bit later in the show. And then another main one was Aaron Rodgers tonight. He went down with an ankle injury. They already said x-rays were negative. He had to be carted off the field and carted to the locker room, though. So it could be a multiple week absence, though, still. He may not be back this next week. So definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, you won't see him against the Cowboys next week. So
I don't you see him against the Cowboys, especially how their defense looked this past week. They looked really good. A couple key Packer injuries, actually. Aaron Jones came up hobbling with a hamstring injury. He did not return. He should hopefully be okay. Quay Walker out with concussion in IDP leagues. Anthony Richardson left at the last part of the game. They said he is okay, though. He should be playing this next week, so he should be all right. Jacoby Myers is being evaluated for a concussion as well. He left the game and did not return. And then Deontay Johnson, another big one. He left a hamstring injury, did not return either. He was later ruled out. So those are some of the bigger offensive injuries out there.
Yeah, I forgot about Deontay Johnson. I knew that happened to him, but yeah, I just forgot to write that one down. Okay, well, I got a few too. Pat Freiermuth also did not return against the 49ers, so that's not good for good old Steelers. Tyler Lockett had a concussion last week too, so he's on the fringe. Just like old Aaron Rodgers, as we speak, this game's still going on at 13-6. Greg Dulcich hurt his leg and left the game early too, so I don't know. Have an update on Dulcich yet from the Broncos. Austin Eckler had an ankle injury and he's questionable, Dave. His coach said he might not be practicing this week, so that's a big one. Austin Eckler.
Yeah. They didn't really say anything during the game either until that just came out today, actually. So I was kind of shocked. So I'm thinking it's not that bad. I'm thinking he will play this week, but I think he'll be limited this week in practice for sure.
Yeah, but if you're an Eckler owner, you better be handcuffing pretty quick, if you don't have Josh Kelly or something. So That's what I was thinking. But yeah, you hit the most of them. Jacoby Myers, Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins is. It's too bad the dude's like, "Give me a new contract. Give me a new contract." They're like, "No," and then he comes back and he's out. He's pretty much done. This could be a career for him. It's almost like, yeah, he's got to go try out for another team. That's what happens. He's got to go try out. He didn't get the contract. Now he's got to try out, and that ankle injury costing him millions of dollars. It's just insane. Because they probably inked like a $15 million 3-year deal. They probably would do that with him, but you know how running backs are. He didn't do much, and yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, with Achilles, not the ankle though for him.
Yeah, he tore his Achilles. You're right. That was nasty. All right, let's move on to the waiver wire then. And my plan is Gus Edwards, of course, for the Dobbin injury, and Gus Edwards just feels like he's been there forever. I'm absolutely shocked that running backs last so long over there, because the other guy, Justice Hill, I drafted in our dynasty league the very first year, and he's still kicking. He scored 2 touchdowns last week too. So, these two guys are probably going to carry the load, but I would not doubt if they brought up Melvin Gordon from the practice squad. It would be nice to see as a Badger fan, but he's very talented too. And I think he could possibly overtake these guys. So if you got a deep league that you can stash someone in, Melvin Gordon's not a terrible option.
And don't forget about Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette too. Those guys are both out there still too. So one of those guys could possibly get signed as well.
Yep. Yeah, those guys can get signed. Running back Joshua Kelly for the Eckler injury I wrote. I think he could be the big filler here, and he played a lot last week. Tight end Darnell Washington may be a streamer this week versus Cleveland due to Freiermuth. Running back Tyler Algier, he's actually available in 56% of leagues, or he's owned in 56%, so he's available at 44%, but that's still enough for me to say. Good game versus Carolina. Even though Bijan Robinson's the man, he's getting plenty of love over there. Kyron Williams looked great for the Rams. 2 touchdowns, 15 carries, man. That
was a shocker, actually. I can't believe that Cam Akers didn't really do much. So that was a little bit of a shocker to me, actually. But yeah, definitely, he looked good.
Well, Cam got the tutty, but he didn't do as much as Kyron, that's for sure. Puka Nako, or is it Nakwa? I think it might be Nakwa. It's funny, we didn't mention this dude's name ever. He had 15 targets for the Rams with Cup out. 15 targets. I'm like, what the hell is he? He had a baller day. Imagine using him in a dynasty or like a fantasy weekly DFS. That would have paid you dividends.
Yeah.
Oh God. Tutu Atwell from the Rams also looked pretty good with 8 targets and over 100 yards. And this is all pending Cooper Kupp. When Cooper Kupp comes back, these guys both will take a step back. But hey, it's 4 weeks. We got 3 more anyway. Wide receiver Kendrick Bourne had 11 targets for New England, and that's all I have from waivers. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I like the Kendrick Bourne one, and also Van Jefferson. Even though he didn't have a good week this week, he could still be the number 1 for the Rams, though, too, going forward. So it was only 1 week here for Puka, but I definitely like Van Jefferson then, too. A couple quarterbacks, they're on the borderline of being starters, but Mac Jones, he looked really good this past week. 35 for 54, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns. Of course, Jordan Love, he went pretty late in a lot of leagues if he is owned. He had 123.2 passer rating this week, 3 touchdowns as well. So if he is out on the waiver wire, definitely scoop him up. 245 yards as well, no interceptions. I did have Kyron Williams. I like him as well. Kenneth Gainwell, he is available in some of my leagues right now. A lot of people didn't think he'd be the week 1 starter, but he was. He definitely was the starter this week. He handled 14 carries and had 4 targets. So definitely the one to own in for the Eagles. So definitely the guy you want to scoop up this week if he is out there on the waiver wire for in any of your leagues.
Which one did you say? Who was that for the Eagles? Yeah, I doubt he's on waivers, man. That's
one. He's in a couple of my leagues actually right now. I'm gonna pick him up in a couple because he is available in 2 of my leagues actually. So I'm picking him up this week actually.
That's insane. He's he is only owned in 40% of leagues. He's the man. Yeah, at least right now. And I'm very disappointed with that. But I did think I got handcuffed with Gainwell when I drafted Swift in my league, so I still have him.
And then I did have Edwards and Justice Hill as well. But another one I had actually is Roscoe Johnson. Justin Khalil Herbert didn't look that really good this past week.
Roshan Johnson. Yeah, Roshan. He's good.
Yeah, I definitely liked him. He looked explosive when he was in there, and he had a touchdown this week too as well. Even though it was in the fourth quarter and towards the end of the game, I still really like him. Actually, he looked really good this week. So if Khalil struggles the next couple weeks, he could take a bigger share of that running back load. Even he looked even better than Dante Foreman too. Dante Foreman looked decent as well, but he definitely looked the best out of those three running backs. And they might need a spark on offense, and that definitely will be the guy they look to on offense. Romeo Dobbs, he's probably owned in most leagues, but if he's not, definitely scoop him up. Jacoby Myers, a lot of people forgot about him, even though he got injured this week. He had more targets and more receptions than Devontae Adams, which is not going to normally be the norm, but definitely scoop him up if you can as well.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Well, why don't you move into players trending up, non-starters trending up, that is, for week 2.
All right. Well, my first one is going to be Kenneth Gainwell. We just talked about him. I definitely think he's trending up now. He's the starter now there. They're playing the Vikings. Vikings look poor, very poor this week, and they got beat by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What more can you say? I think the Eagles just crushed the Vikings this week. I don't think the Vikings are as good as the team as they showed up as last year. I definitely like that. And then Packers, I like Jordan Love against the poor Falcons D. I don't think their defense is that good. I don't think their secondary is very good, at least. I think he'll feast on them, hopefully, just like he did against the Bears. Aaron Jones, if healthy, he's going to be a starter though. But AJ Dillon, if Aaron Jones is still out, he could be a nice little sleeper this week against the Falcons as well. I like AJ Dillon this week against the poor Falcons defense. I do like James Cook this week against the Raiders. I still don't think the Raiders have a good defense, so I do like James Cook this week. You're normally not starting him, but I like him this week. Gus Edwards, the guy we talked about, I think he's going to be the main guy there. I think Justice Hill got a little lucky with those 2 touchdowns. I think those are going to go to Edwards going forward. He might get one of those in the future, but I definitely think Gus Edwards is going to be the guy there. He played on 3 of the next upcoming series after Dobbins was hurt, so I definitely think they're going to look to him. I like that matchup for them. The Colts, I like Anthony Richardson against the Texans. I'm still not sold on the Texans. I think their defense is a little bit better than last year, but Richardson looked good this week. They weren't afraid to have him pass the ball either. They weren't just strictly running him like a Fields. He had 45 pass attempts, which is pretty good for a rookie. I like him against that poor Texans D. I don't think they're still that good. Buccaneers, I like Baker Mayfield against the poor Bears D. Jordan Love can make him look like an all pro. I think Mayfield has a decent week against them as well. He's one of the guys trending up for me. Another guy is trending up is going to be Dak Prescott. Even though he's playing,
Dak's a starter. You can't.
Okay. I'll skip that one then. Yeah. The other one, my last one, is going to be Sam Howell. I like him. He had a decent week this past week. He had 1 interception, but he came back and led them to the win. He had a couple touchdowns this week, as one rushing and 1 throwing. So Sam Howell I like as well.
All right. No, I agree with a lot of those. I mean, I have Gus Edwards at the Bengals, being that, of course, the main guy's not starting, which makes it better for him. Rashad White versus the Bears defense, I agree with that. He should be able to turn around, and the Bears defense was terrible against the run and third down pass. Jackson Smith, the Jigbug at the Lions, could be a good one if Tyler Lockett's out. So that could be kind of his breakout game. Ooh, interception Jets again. Woohoo! I mean, the Bills should be up by like 30 here. What the hell? It's 13-6.
Well, the Jets defense is legit, man. Remember last year that they were like a top 5 defense.
I know, but all they need to do is really run the ball and do that and dink and dunk, and they're sitting there doing that. I don't know. So let's move on to Gabe Davis versus the Raiders D. I think Gabe Davis might, after this game, realize that they need to find him with the ball instead of trying to force it to Diggs all the time. And he'll have a good game versus the Raiders D. Darren Waller against a bad Cardinals team, Dave. Waller was the only guy that looked okay on the Giants was Darren Waller yesterday before I turned it off, which was like the second quarter game. But I was following it, though. I got Ezekiel Elliott versus a bad Miami run D. Miami's run D was terrible last week. And believe it or not, I think they give it to Zeke a little bit and have him kind of beat him up. Zeke was, a good running back not long ago. And that Miami was just getting cut up all over against the run. Probably the worst rush EPA so far to start. Wide receiver Christian Kirk versus the Chiefs D could find some openings. He's kind of a sneaky little player. Chiefs might put up some points, so he will. And Chiefs, I expect to have Chris Jones back, but he's probably could be a little rusty. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill versus the Chargers could be a shootout. So I like quarterback Ryan Tannehill this week, believe it or not, against the Chargers D. And I like quarterback Jared Goff. But I got to admit, Dave, Goff might be a full-time starter now.
He's borderline. I definitely do. I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, he's borderline, but against the Seahawks, after you saw what Matt Stafford did to him, this could be a time for him to tee off on him to Amon-Ra St. Brown and a couple of those rookie tight ends and whoever else.
Yeah, I like Laporta this week actually too. Sam Laporta is one of the guys I like, definitely against that poor Seahawks D.
Nice. All right,
cutting the tight ends too as well.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's go into bus then. I have Desmond Ridder against the Packers D. I'm a little worried for him. So, I'm kind of agreeing with that. I think this is an unders game. Matt Stafford versus the Niners D is brutal. I don't like that. Wide receiver Chase Claypool can be dropped by the Bears because the dude's already just dogging plays and the media's all over it. It's just a mess over with Claypool. He's probably droppable right now. I mean, if there's somebody, I think if there's Gainwell on your bench, you pick up Gainwell for him for sure. On the not bench, on the waivers. So do that. That reminds me. All right, so who else do I have in my bust category? Kirk Cousins versus the Eagles is a little rough. I wouldn't trust Kirk Cousins against the Eagles, man. Sorry, too scary. Cam Akers versus the Niners defense, unfortunately, doesn't look good for him. I'd rather start Kyren Williams, to be honest with you. DeAndre Swift had one carry, Dave. One freaking carry. And he might be toast. And maybe why the Eagles inquired about Jonathan Taylor, because the Lions traded him. They took the garbage. They realized maybe he's a bad locker room guy, bad teammate, which happens all the time. People don't always know about it. And then they make the mistake. And obviously you're seeing why he only got one carry. He was with them the whole summer. There's no reason for this. He's with them since the draft, basically. Alexander Madison versus the Eagles is also rough for the Vikings, so I don't like him. And Raheem Mostert versus the Patriots D isn't good either. So those are my bust, Dave. Who are yours?
Yeah, I don't like Alexander Madison against the Eagles D. I think the Eagles have a very good D, and I don't like that matchup. I agree with you on the 49ers. I'm not starting anyone against the 49ers D. Their defense looked really tough. I'm not liking Matthew Stafford or Kyren Williams or Akers against that San Francisco D. I don't really like Dak against the Jets D. The Jets have really good D. I'm downgrading Dak this week, even though he's normally a starter. I'm downgrading him. I don't have him trending up against a tough Jets defense. The Broncos too. The Washington Commanders are for real. I think their defense is legit. I don't like Russell Wilson or Javonte Williams against that tough Commanders D. I think they definitely step up this week. I think the Steelers bounce back this week. I don't like Deshaun Watson against them. I think he still struggled a little bit this past week, even though it was sloppy conditions that they were playing in. I don't like him against the Steelers D. I think the Steelers D bounces back this week against him. I think that's a tough matchup for him as well. Another one I don't like is going to be the Bengals. I think they struggled this past week. I don't like mixing against that tough Baltimore Ravens run D. The Ravens played nice defense this past week as well. I don't like that matchup for them. I think Burrow bounces back this week, but I don't think Mixon has a good week against that tough Ravens D. I don't like the Raiders this week. I don't like Garoppolo. Josh Jacobs should still do all right against the Bills, but I'm downgrading him as well a little bit this week too. Bills defense is good as well, so that's a tough defense to go up against too as well. So I'm downgrading him this week. The Chargers, if Eckler doesn't play, Josh Kelly plays. I don't like him against the Titans. I think Justin still does well against the Titans D on passing because their secondary still isn't that strong. But I don't think Eckler or Kelly do that well against the Titans this week.
All right. Well, there you go. That's interesting. Yeah, the Titans can be tough against the front too. So I do agree with that. Time for the nasty sleeper, Dave. And I have to go first because you said his freaking name twice already. Kenneth Gainwell, duh. I mean, the Vikings have a terrible defense. He looks like the starter of the Eagles. This is the only time I can call this man a sleeper. So I'm going to call him this week. Kenneth Gainwell for sure. What are yours?
All right. I'm going with my D-Nasty sleeper of the week. I was going to go Gainwell, but I'm going with Anthony Richardson. I like this rookie. I think he's the real deal. So I think he's going to have even a better week this week against that poor Texans defense. So I look for him to build off of his nice performance last week and be a game winner for you this week.
Awesome stuff, Dave. Well, do we miss anything for fantasy football week 2?
No, I think just a cup injury too. We didn't really discuss that. He's on the IR now, so he's over for the next 4 weeks. So we did discuss that, but
it happened before the week, so I usually don't. But
yeah, just keep that in mind as well, though, too. So if you have Cup, definitely he's out the next 4 weeks. So just keep that in mind as well.
agreed. All right. Well, sounds great. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us or for next week's Monday mailbag, email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Tweet us at the Oddsbreakers. Enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.